Hi, and welcome to What's the Worst That Could Happen. I'm Abby Whitaker, your host, and today I have the lovely Renee, founder of Lolly May Store, and her right-hand woman, Mel.
Hello.
I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name's Renee. Well, you just introduced me, so that's a bit embarrassing. Got that. I'm the founder of Lolly May, a gorgeous little girl's clothing label. The brand is around 4 years old, and I'm just utterly obsessed, and it's what I do all day, every day, and plan to do that for as long as I can.
And I'm Mel. I am Renee's right hand. I'm her e-commerce marketing consultant for Lolly May. And we met a year ago, actually. You slid into my DMs a year ago. And ever since, we've just been peas in a pod, living our best lives.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and having a chat. I think what really drew me to ask you to come and chat to me was recently you were talking about some of the comments that you get, like, oh, you're so lucky, you're just like a trad wife or like a stay-at-home like mum, and you just have all this like backing and you didn't really work, or you're lucky to have what you have. And like you shared a lot about your journey to get where you've gotten. So I'm excited to chat about that more and like, yeah, just unpack it and delve a bit deeper. Yeah. So why don't you, I would love for you to start a little bit with like your journey, like where did it start?
Yeah.
What brought on the idea?
So I've always been like a bit of a career girly. I've always loved working really hard with whatever I have done. I came straight out of aviation when I had my first daughter, and then went to go straight back into it because, that was where I was set to be for what I thought the rest of my life. And I noticed very quickly that I wasn't able to do that role anymore because, the baby was 24/7, and then so was my logistic job that I had at the time. And so I had a really rough time splitting into that motherhood in full force when all I'd ever known was working. So I had to naturally adapt to motherhood, and I had to give up the aviation job because it just wasn't an option. That job was 24/7, and so was Lola. Mm-hmm. So I had to unfortunately let it go, and I was actually really sad about it because I absolutely love nothing more than working. And during my motherhood embracing era, I was playing around all day, every day at home. It was just the two of us, Lola and I. Josh was away at the time for a really long period of time because he's a helicopter firefighting pilot and was dispatched overseas for up to 90 days in a row because that was at the time when there was no flights coming in and out of Australia. He was going overseas on, private Russian Antonovs, for God's sake. Like, it was just a random time. And so I was very lonely, but during my lonely time, I found joy in little things like dressing Lola in cutesy little outfits, and I had no family around me because, no one could even drive to bloody Noosa from Brisbane. It was that crazy at that time. So I sort of started this Instagram profile and was like, look, I'm just going to let the fams and friends know what I'm up to because no one can hang out in the lounge room with me. I'm so lonely. So I was sort of taking photos of Lola in her little outfits, and, I found great joy in a dark time that I was so lonely doing that. And then I noticed, long story short, in a very short period of time, people outside of friends and family started to, sort of take interest in Lola's outfits, of course, but also I decided to just go, look, I've got nothing better to do with my day, so why don't I cook? Because that was another thing I really enjoyed doing and still do. So I started cooking, and at the time we'd just moved into this house and it didn't have a functioning oven. And I didn't know that at the time. So if you're buying a house and the oven doesn't work, check it. Because I didn't have any money after we bought this house, to even get an oven. So I ended up, again, long story short, found my Weber outside, and I started doing things like scones, chocolate cakes, like you name it. I was able to do it on the Weber. I just started filming
That's very creative.
I just was like, wow, all these things are going wrong. The oven doesn't work. So I was like, okay, well, the Weber does. So I, sort of started, that was something that I was doing as well as, Lola and the cute outfits. And I sort of gained an audience via my cooking, Lola's outfits, etc. And then it obviously did come to a time where I was like, what am I going to do? Lola was getting a bit older, and she was about 4 months, thinking, why don't I try and figure out how to make outfits? Mm-hmm. I have no background in sewing. I can't sew a button on. I've always loved art. I guess through this journey, I've found out that I'm a lot more creative than I ever thought I was. I didn't really actually know that about myself because obviously I'd come straight out of aviation and then I'm starting to figure out how to make clothes. So that's kind of where it all started. And so alongside growing this social media platform, I was growing, like learning and educating myself on how to create a clothing label. I was like, okay, I started to sort of think people are liking my cooking and people are liking the outfits. Maybe I can use this audience as my, reach for what I want to do, which is pursue a gorgeous children's clothing label. And that's kind of where it started.
That's amazing. So I feel like, because I had Billy around about the same time, I feel like your Instagram account, it was kind of like an overnight, like,
because Lola is so bloody beautiful.
It's just an overnight success.
But I think even like what you're saying about, that kind of like misconception that the community's had over the last, even think like 12 months since Lolly May has gotten extremely successful. What I think has kind of like, people didn't know you prior to you being the mama at home, doing the cooking, doing all those things. So they have kind of like missed Renee's era of like working like an absolute dog 24/7. They've just missed that part. Whereas like, because I've known her for like, quite a long time now, and I've known, like, I've heard every story, every traumatic event, every, that's like a thing that I think people have missed and don't know that much about her. She is an extremely hard worker. And that's something we both like, we get along so well because of that. Like, it's something we share. And I think that misconception is so prevalent because people have missed that era of her life and have in favour seen, what they see on social media. But what they absolutely do not know is this girl can work from like 6 a.m. in the morning and I'm still getting emails at like 10 p.m. at night when she's like, mentally capacity has the time, but she's not cooking on the weather. So I just think that that's like where a lot of that kind of juxtaposition comes from, and that, discourse online.
When you talk about even like sharing your journey, making the clothes, all of that, was that really intentional from the start? Like, I feel like you are quite intelligent. And was that sort of like when you started to make the clothes, was that like, oh, I want to potentially launch a business? Or was it like, I'm just going to make clothes because people like the cute clothes? Or like, what was that?
I honestly think it was more because I am like, to be honest, I was starting to get sent stuff. So because I didn't really know anything about social media. Let's be honest. Like, truthfully, I didn't know a thing about it. I didn't know how it worked. And I think I'm just a curious creature. I'm the sort of person that wants to know everything about everyone. And I started to kind of observe and notice what was happening with me. Like, people were starting to send me things and I was kind of like, why? And through that I figured out like, oh, like,
I have a platform.
Maybe I'm able to do something for them. And I sort of really slowly but then very quickly learned, so I kind of reversed engineered what was happening. People were sending me products and then I was able to, help bring awareness or maybe even sometimes sell them. So I was like, okay, I sort of learnt that. But I think because I've always just been so interested in working, it was more that side of it that I was like really reverse engineering from early on. And I think it's important to note, whilst yes, you can go viral and yes, LOL is beautiful and all of that, but it's like, how do you engage a community? You can have a piece of content go viral, but what's going to make someone stay? And I think that's where I shared and still do, tough days. I've shared when I was 20 kilos heavier than I am now and shared every single inch of that in my bra and undies online. And, I want everyone to feel seen. Like, I want to show the good, the bad, the ugly. And I think that's, in reference to that comment with like, oh, she's just online because of her kid. It's like, well, but why have people stayed?
Yes,
I want
so true.
I want people to feel seen. Like, I'm like everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Super relatable.
Yeah.
And I feel like probably in the last 4 years, like Mel, you could probably speak to this as well, as like, I feel like particularly maybe in the last 6 to 12 months, that's become, people are clicking onto that, right? Yeah. They're clicking on like, okay, people don't really want like a perfectly curated situation where they only share the highlight reel. People are wanting to share, they're feeling connected to people who are sharing a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I feel like that seems to be the way that social media is going.
Yes.
In terms of Instagram, but then I feel like TikTok's like already there, like the more quirky.
It's just taking the
relatable.
filter away, like, you know, so why people aren't interested in celebrities anymore, you know, like that polished, perfect look, like people they want to know what's real. And Renee is like, unfiltered.
Still have like so much more to share. Like if I think this year I energetically feel so much more ready to share more, because I feel like the more you do share, you have to be ready for the other side of it, which is, you know, that comment that I got the other day where people, you know, but I'm kind of like ready to just break past that.
Yeah.
Just, you know.
It's an interesting thing. I got my first like hate comment recently.
No.
But I like loved it. I was like, oh my gosh, I've made it. Like someone's like said something about me. Like they're obviously like, whatever. They made a comment about my Australian accent and how I said professional or something, I think.
Such a weird thing for someone to pick out, you know?
Yeah, and it was so funny. But like, honestly, I was like, that's how I felt. But I know so many people struggle with that.
Yeah.
Do you find that you get a lot of?
I honestly do not, like, at all. Like,
That's great.
Really.
Yeah.
I would say it only really has happened. And like, there is a lot of projection, especially like I've seen this before with other businesses and business owners when they get to a point where it becomes like, oh, you're not just doing this out of your house as a hobby anymore. There is an element of like tall poppy syndrome. And I think for you, like we've just noticed that in the last 12 months, like it has become like Lolly May is not just a hobby for you anymore. We've realized that there's a true gap in the market. Renee has a very talented eye for children's wear and like this has the potential. And so we've really just, you know, like leaned into that. And I think as a result, people are like, oh, okay, you know, but you're lucky and you have this. And I think that's where this is like kind of, you know, evolved. But that happens, you know?
Yeah, I totally can agree and relate to that. And I think that something I've learnt is that, like we talk about poppy syndrome, I feel like on the coast there's such like a beautiful community of female business owners. But I definitely feel like as an Australian, I think it's actually, because I've been in different countries and lived in different countries, but I think it's particularly an Australian trait is like the tall poppy syndrome. It's like, let's clap until you're
too successful, and then we need to bring you down a peg.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I felt like when I got that comment, even though it was an American guy, I was like, so I'm starting to grow taller than the other puppies, like, you know, noticing me. But yeah, I feel like, what's your experience been with that?
I mean, I haven't really I feel like I don't look out for it, and even if it's there, I guess for me, I just like, I don't really like to like fester in that energy, or if it's there, to be honest, my approach is probably just ignore it. Like, I just don't, I honestly, I don't have time. Like, I just can't be bothered. Like, because I honestly, I'm like, there are so many more people than me that are doing better than me. Like, I love that energy. I'm like, put me in a room where I'm like the smallest gal. Yeah. Like, honestly, every day of the week.
You were also like, especially with, you know, Lolly May, like Renee is very like open and wants to be able to show people that you can be a mum of one or two at home and you can have passions and you can still pursue them. You know, you can have a partner that's away 90 days at a time and you can still do it. Like she is very much trying to show people like it's possible. I can do it. You can do it. And she's trying to show people that.
Yeah, like it's the total opposite of what, if anything, was to come in. Like, I honestly want everyone to wake up in the whole world and think they are so worthy of doing whatever their heart desires, whatever that looks like. You know, and I think that's why I can't relate. I'm just like, I hope you feel better soon.
Yeah.
With love.
I totally get it. Yeah. It's like, I feel like there's a situation recently. I actually think I might have mentioned this on another podcast, but there was a situation recently where someone I was with, we went to the beach, my daughter and my dog and stuff, and she had borrowed a pair of my shoes. And then when we got to the beach, I took my shoes off like at the grass and left them there. And then she got the shoes and she picked them up. And I was like, no, just leave them there. And she's like, well, what if someone takes them? I'm like, they're my shoes. If someone takes them, they must need them more than we do. You know?
That's a good perspective.
Like, that's like having that perspective that it's like, if you're kind of like acting out or doing these things, instead of like thinking the worst of people, it's like think the best of them. Like maybe kid really needs a pair of shoes or
absolutely,
whatever, you know?
That's literally what happened when I got those chargebacks, remember?
Yeah.
Bloody assholes. Got like $1,500 worth of chargebacks. And I was like, well, they obviously needed those, you know.
What's a chargeback?
I didn't know what that was either until this week. When someone uses they've stolen a credit card and they order product.
Oh.
And then like the bank sends you something to say, excuse me, that's like fraudulent. And so then I have to, you know, put in an investigation.
Right.
So. But I was, you know, upset about it for a second and then was like, well, look, whoever has received those obviously needs it.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know, we live and learn.
That
Yeah.
mindset is so powerful. Honestly, that is what gets you to the next, you know. I think I'm very big on like how you set the tone and like, you know, like we had a hard day yesterday. We had a really hard day and it's like if you don't just choose to look at it a certain way, it could derail everything and it could just put such a bad taste in your mouth. And you are just like an incredibly positive human being, like even in the worst of times. And I think as well, like if I look at even the last year, you know, like as Lolly May has grown, you know, we have brands come in and they try to, you know, replicate items, and it's we choose to look at that. It's like, well, that is so flattering, you know, like we are, your darling hearts.
So if you don't choose to look at things like that, then it can it can take
it could destroy you,
and it could also just take your eyes off what you are doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's definitely a mentality. We have, like, we were one of the first bloody studios on the coast, and then now there's lots. And I think that that's so great because I'm like, it means that everyone can like move in this way that's actually really beautiful and really safe. But me and my husband have always just been like, focus on your business and your road. You don't need to look at anyone else.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just do your thing, and that's like your superpower.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And people recognize it. Like if people copy, they can see it too. Like everyone can see through it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
no one can copy your brain, so it's all right.
No. Yeah, exactly. No one can copy. Yeah, exactly how you go.
Well, yeah,
Like they can copy a product, but it can't.
Doesn't
It
have the
will
same-
never it will never transfer, and it won't have the same energy as.
yeah, because you can't keep up if you're copying. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talk about bad days. What have some of the challenges been for you, and what are some of the things that we haven't seen along this journey?
Challenges.
Every week there's one sometimes, you know?
There is. I think that's like honestly, realistically, something that we like, you know, I probably don't share is there is challenges every single week, sometimes daily. It's often, but you know, some of the bigger ones, I think I have like briefly mentioned this before on my platforms, but when I first started, I had $47,000 stolen cash from my, you know, business bank account from someone that was close to me. So that was quite, you know, a hiccup that can't be ignored.
Yeah.
But again, it's like that mindset that has been what has got me through, because there's going to be things again, you know, there's going to be things that are yet to come that I've yet to be seen. But yeah, I think
even like as a first time business owner, like this is her first stint at doing something like this, you've had a lot of like big uncomfortable growth leaps already, right?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, like so many challenges have come, you know, through that. Like, what do you think, you know, even in the last year? Like, I know we've got some, but I want you to...
I think the biggest one, even like for me right now, would be like, you know, Lolly May is growing, and you know, it hasn't happened yet, but a feeling of scary that I'm feeling at the moment is definitely like, shit, like product.
What next?
Like, you know, product, not about what I'm going to create, but like, how much do I order?
Yeah, like, it can be little things like that, right? It can be, absolutely. Like, we don't know how a drop's going to go. You know, we've got enough historical data now through launches that we have a feeling that sometimes that feeling pays off, sometimes it doesn't. You know, it's a constant risk for Renee.
Yeah. So that's kind of like where I'm sitting at the moment, like with just that, like, like, you know, it feels uncomfortable, but I often find when I'm feeling so uncomfortable, it's like we're unlocking the next level, baby.
Yeah. And you're learning like every day, like even like, you know, 12 months ago, like as a small business, you have to look at things like you have to be lean, you have to, you know, like my goodness. And so even things like, you know, something we don't want to sacrifice on is the quality of her garments.
Yeah.
But when you're not sacrificing on the quality of your garments, you're kind of sacrificing on the profit side of things.
Yes.
So, and it's a delicate balance, and it's something that we've navigated quite a few times actually in the last like 12 months, right? Trying to get that balance. so that we're not doing things that we don't want to sacrifice on, but we're also still as a small business making money so that we can continue to grow and scale and produce things at a larger scale and keep serving our community. That's been like a huge thing over the last 12 months.
Yeah.
And I think too, like with our brand, the product that I bring out, it's just exquisite. Like the details that I infuse into it is details that you don't really see anywhere else.
I can definitely second that.
Bless you. Thank you. Like it's, you know, it's expensive, you know, and I think my focus for this year is like focusing more on like selling our point of difference, you know, like infusing like why, like, you know, why would you choose Lolly May over, you know, and, you know, marketing that more because our pieces are just so beautiful and unique. Like
They're really magical too. Like they really like what I noticed with my daughter when she's wearing them. It's like she feels like, you can tell she just feels like herself.
That's
like
so
she, you know,
perfect.
so gorgeous.
yeah. And I think that it's like what's really nice from like my perspective is like, you know, they go through this phase where they want these like princess dresses and it's like the Kmart Elsa dresses or whatever. But with the dresses that she's got from you, it's like giving princess, but it's also like really like aesthetic and beautiful.
That is so
it's like,
gorgeous. Got
And
tears in my eyes.
feminine and just,
That's beautiful. And I mean, that's, I honestly, it's never changed, but high quality. Like I would just die to do anything like less than that. Like it's product, beautiful product first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of the, I don't know if the right word would be like the life cycle or like the way that you launch different collections and stuff and like the way that the cycle of like cash flow and stuff goes, because my background's in service-based business.
Yeah.
Can you like explain that a bit more and then maybe potentially touch on what skills maybe you have from like your previous work? Because you said you worked in aviation, that kind of thing, like how that's actually transferred to Lolly May and potentially benefited.
I think the biggest skill set that I have that is absolutely required for what I'm doing that has transferred wholeheartedly, and we even spoke about this yesterday when we had a hard day, was my experience in logistics, like the pivoting, the doing like 25 things at once and just constantly like, solution, that side of it. Like I very much, obviously in aviation, I was working with natural disasters. So like I had to constantly have a level head on me and I constantly had to think outside of the box. And I feel like that is what I do every single day at Lolly May. It's just constantly like, how can we be different? What are we going to do, you know, next that's going to get eyes on the brand? Like just constantly thinking. I mean, when I was working in aviation, there was things that, you know, everyone in the office would be looking at me going, we can't do that. And I was the girl that was like, yes, we fucking can. And that's what I do at Lolly May. It's like, we are going to make this work. And like, as we've been growing this brand, it's like, what can I keep doing to just keep this wheel rolling?
And it's a fine line as well, and this is something I feel like we're really learning and figuring out now. Like I think it's something that, you know, it's like a big goal for us now, but you know, we have, you know, yes, every month there's a revenue target that we need to hit to, you know, invest back in the business, work on our overheads, things like that. But then, you know, and we also know like what pieces are making us money right now and what pieces haven't made us money right now. So it's where are we investing in innovative new product and where are we doubling down on the stuff that is, we know that our community want and need. And it's a constant balance of like, okay, you know, like what do we need more of at this point in time? What's our goal right now? If it's eyes on brand and we know we need to innovate, all right, like Renee's got to then double down and she's spending, you know, hours at night at midnight sketching, you know, and it's trying to figure out right now with where we are, what's most important to us in any given month. Really.
Priorities. And I think, so like logistics is definitely what's been transferred. But other than that, it's honestly just been like doing it, being in the game, trying things, trialing different things, failing, making mistakes, celebrating wins, and then kind of, you know, Mel and I took Mel to an abode in the bush literally at the start of this year because
it's gorgeous.
I literally just, I'm like, that's what I feel like I'm energetically pulled towards right now, and I'm just going to do it. And I did. And I was like, we need to be in a place, no phone reception. And that's what I
no
do.
aircon either.
Mess up. It was meant to be. But I was like, get us to the bush. I want to like reflect. And, you know, sometimes it's like very busy day to day. So it's like I felt the need to just like, let's
Pull
go
ourselves
bird's eye.
out of it. Yeah.
So, you know, doing that work as well and like reflecting on what it is that we've done so far. And I think just having a go and doing it.
Yeah, and having fun along the way and like stopping and breathing.
Yes.
And just taking a step back, which just sounds like what you did.
Yeah.
And I think also just something so important, obviously, like you guys work really closely together, but it's like taking care of that relationship, taking care of someone who is like loving your business the same amount as you are. Yeah, I actually would love to touch on like the transition. So you said that you started working with Renee about a year ago and you have been doing the business for 4 years.
Well, that's including the creation of it behind the scenes. But I think Lolly May is officially about 3, 2.5, 3. Yeah.
So how was that transition for you? Were you working with other people before?
So as Mel said, like earlier, it was definitely like hobby. And then I started to like try a few things. I had a few like casual staff members help me here and there at photo shoots. And then I still have like a feeling inside me where I just know where it's going to go. And I felt that. And I just got to a point where I was like, okay, I've got, you know, this much here that I want to invest in, how to get this much further. And I was like, who's it going to be? Like who is that person and how do I find that person? Like, I feel like I've got what I'm doing down pat and I need to do something outside of what I'm doing. And how do I find it? And I think I heard Mel on a podcast and started stalking the crap out of her, actually. I was doing the old love hearts on the stories. She was over in Europe. She got engaged. She was my bestie. Congrats. and then I took that leap again, was like, I'm going to be forward and be like, hey, would you be interested in having a call with me? And she was like so lovely, and we definitely did the old like screen call to see, you know,
if we vibed. You know, that's very important.
Yeah.
And even like from a skill set perspective as well, you've got to know, like, is it complementing skill sets? Is it, you know, is there going to be friction? Like, you need to know that kind of thing.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, that's what I did. And that's, so Mel was the first sort of thing that I got onto when I got to that stage where I was like, okay, I'm ready to go beyond me now. And I definitely had to do a lot of like drops prior to that though, to get to that point. Cause like to get to that point, like you cannot do that in the first week, month, a year.
It's
like
so important for a founder to realize, like, from that point beforehand, Renee was doing the majority of it herself. She also had Lola was 2.
Yeah.
And then Lou, so I didn't want to forget that. Like when we got on our first call, Lou was 10 weeks old and she knew in her gut, like, we're still going to make this happen. I'm not just going to go and step out again and have, you know, a month or 2 to get my bearings with my second child. She was 10 weeks old on a call with us. Like Lou was on all of our calls.
She was
like
the top.
Yeah,
like on the bench
she's
next
right
to
there.
me.
She's our CFO, isn't she? She just sits there it's so important for like a founder to know when they're at capacity and what their skill sets are, and you realize that, I think, and that's kind of where I came into the picture for you.
Yeah, definitely. I just honestly, I just love what I do. And I just was like, I felt momentum, and I'd obviously just given birth. Honestly, there was a fresh little bubs there.
Yeah.
But I just honestly was like, I want to keep going. Like right up until the day before I was due in for my Caesar, I was down at the post office. You know, even just small things like I went to the post office 2 times a day, every single day, 5 days a week for a year and a half. And then about a year ago, I finally reached a level with Australia Post where they were like, hey, we can come and pick your parcels. And I like cried. I was like, I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is so
life-changing.
That is beyond.
Yeah.
Like, what on earth did I do in this lifetime to deserve that? Like, you know, because I'd just been driving.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I had to get both girls out of the car because, again, I've been doing this the whole time with Josh just not here.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. And I think even just speaking to the point of like where you got to the point where you realized you needed something else to grow.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes that's where founders get stuck, is that they are not realizing that you have to invest.
Yes.
Or they
in
feel like
order-
they can't even like let go of the reins and the handles a
Yes.
little bit, or trust that someone else is going to have the business's best interests at heart as well.
Yeah.
And I think for, you know, you, Renee, like she is so willing to learn. And I think that's the reason she is where she is now. And I know, you know, where she'll be in 5 years, it'll literally be a result of her as a founder and her business owner wanting to learn everything from everyone. Anyone who has come into the business, not just me, it's, you know, Talari, your girl in the warehouse, you know, it's Lani, it's everyone that's been involved in Lolly May so far. She wants to learn because they have skill sets that she, you know, doesn't necessarily possess or hasn't, you know, had the ability to do. And it's just, that's like, and now, like, how much in the last like 12 months have you like,
just growing.
It's
like,
insane.
Because again, it's like, I know what I'm shit at.
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, we're not good at everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I feel
totally.
like, you know, when you honor the things that you're shit at, you can really find magic in things and people that they're good at that you're not, you know,
Yeah.
and I really admire that, you know.
I remember when I first got my first like business coach or mentor or whatever, and she did, at the start, she did this like values test and then this like strengths test.
Yeah.
And she was like, from that, she, like, from those like quizzes or whatever, she then said to me, like, I know that you, in your business, like you teach, you do admin, you do sales, like you literally jack of all trades. And she's like, but the thing is that by you doing like these tasks, it's taking away from fully shining at your full potential in these tasks, which is where your strengths really are. So even though you can do them, it's actually going to be way more beneficial for your business to outsource that and find the right people for those roles, because then you can shine brighter in the space
100%
that
what you're meant to be doing.
Yeah.
And for Renee, that's you product. Like that's your development of an impeccable product. And that did get to a point last year where you were struggling to do that because the wheels were turning so fast in like all other areas. And, you know, like, yeah, you were so good at knowing that like, okay, can't keep doing that.
Yeah.
Got to switch it. Yeah.
In like a
Yes.
very busy time.
Yeah.
But I also think it's not to discredit that at the beginning, like you, even when you are like absolutely shit at it, you've got to do it all. Like
yes.
there's no
Choice,
option.
yeah.
Like,
Yes.
you know, you can't just outsource. You
No.
know, you've just got to give yourself credit and love and go like, you know, just keep on keeping on because it's also, and that's why I like learning, because I'm aware of the things that I'm shit at, but I'm also like, I still want to know how to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that that's actually, even just from a business perspective point of view, like that's a really clever way to do things. Like I fully believe that you should know how to do everything in your business.
Yeah.
Because if the wheels fall off and everyone falls away,
Yeah.
at least you know how to like pick up the pieces, and it's very empowering to know what's going on in your business.
Yes.
The amount of people I've spoken to who are like, oh, I don't really know anything about my accounts because like it just gets taken care of by the accountant. It's like, no, I get that you have like an accountant and a bookkeeper, and that's really great
Yeah.
that you're not doing that task, but like you need to know
Yeah.
what's going on, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just have like genuine interest. Like I want to know, like obviously I've got so many beautiful people on this journey with me, but I'm like just as invested in all the magic that they're sprinkling. Yeah. As well as all the stuff that I'm doing. I'm like, I want to be involved. Like, tell me what you've been up to today.
Yeah,
You know?
that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So going back to the logistics thing,
Yeah.
what I'm like kind of interested in is how it works with like product. So you like drop product
Yeah.
and then you sell it, but then you have to invest a lot back into the next product. How far, like, do you work in seasons? Like, how do you guys work? Like, do you work in seasons? How far ahead do you have to like have the designs and then sampling, and like, what's the nitty gritty of it?
It's very like nitty gritty, but I honestly transparently feel like we're still like figuring out our product cycle, like the margins in like children's wear, especially in the caliber that we're focusing on. It's, you know, it's slim. So it's like definitely, you know, reinvesting money as we go around, but also with that, for example, I don't follow trends. I'm not sure if I'm meant to, or, you know, like, but everything's very much just like straight from here out to here. I also have a gorgeous designer, Beck, hello, that helps me as well now with designs, just to help me like forward planning, because I'm so busy on the business now, that is an area currently that I'm working on where I need sort of forward planning help with, so that we can, make sure we have regular product launches, because I think that's kind of what we cracked last year. Is at the beginning I was like, oh God, the customer will be exhausted from all this product, but it's like,
yeah, it's such a fine balance. And I
is.
think, like previous to the last 12 months, I think Lolly May, you were launching things, it was very sporadic, and it was potentially like one launch every 2 to 3 months. And it wasn't never structured. It's something we have really focused on the last 12 months, is like not just building the foundations, because you need foundations for that to even work. If you don't have the foundations and you're trying to up your product cycle and you're trying to release more product and order more units, it's just never going to work. So your foundations, like that's what we worked really, really hard on. And to get to a point where now we can not just be like forecasting our range plans and getting ahead and making sure that our product's not on, not on a plane, it's on a ship, because like that helps with our product margins, there's things that we've been doing like in the last 12 months. And I think we're finally getting to a point now where like our community is so engaged and they love everything that we do, that we can release new stuff bi-weekly. We can release new stuff frequently. And that is the goal, because we do like, it's not fast fashion. Does that make sense?
Yes,
so
totally.
it's not, you're doing this thing and it's gone, and we're trying to make pieces that are in your wardrobe for until they grow out of them,
it's sustainable.
Yes.
And then their sister or
absolutely.
whatever
Yes.
as well.
And it takes a lot of time. Like often a piece is 12 months.
Yeah.
Like by the time
from you sketching
Yeah.
to getting the sampling to getting it on a ship and here and then in our marketing calendar to launch. Yeah, it can take at least like six.
Yeah. 6 to 12 months. And I feel like this last year as well, we've been focusing a lot on foundations, because I feel like I know where I'm going. I just haven't hesitated with like, I want to have the roots down.
Yes.
And I have really loved, learning what we can do in that area to really nourish our gorgeous community, because they are just so loyal. Love them.
It's like the systems and processes, hey? It's like creates that foundation, which then makes like everything feel a little bit lighter, like up here, because that this is taken care of.
Yeah. And just really like haven't been racing through it either.
No.
Like I'm just like, I want to do it right. Like that's how often do I say that all the time. I'm like,
100%.
it needs to be right.
Yeah.
Like I
think that's very important, like
Yeah.
for any small business owner to learn. Like it can also be one of those things where you start making money and you're like, yes, like we are going to go balls to the walls 100%, and we're going to miss several steps because we can jump straight from A to D, and Renee's, it hasn't been like that. It's been not slow and steady wins the race, but it's like every single step is done. It's done to the best of its ability, and then we move on, and when we're ready for the next step, we go there.
Yeah. Like I just have an ongoing list of things that I want to implement, and then when I unlock that next level, I'm like, okay, we're doing that now. Like we've just launched our loyalty, and that was like a big investment, but it's like, I want to do it.
Yeah. And that was on our cards a year ago, but a year ago,
Not possible.
Yeah, in my opinion, like it wasn't possible, it wasn't feasible, and we also weren't ready. We didn't have the foundations in place to even facilitate something to that degree,
Yeah, definitely. I think it's so important. And I think that like your consumer and like your followers and your people and your tribe and your community can feel that as well. Like they can feel the energy of something that's done. Like this is something I'm trying to do with my product that I'm going to launch, is like doing it in a really grounded way that's not like rushed and not like just slapped together.
Yes.
Because so many, I find a lot of businesses also, they grow like that. You hear it in business. It's like, oh, they grew too fast.
Yeah, the overnight success that can't keep up.
Exactly.
The rise and
Like,
fall
I don't
of this
want
brand.
that.
Yeah.
Like
No.
my reputation, reputation. I want like that feeling and that emotion to be felt, no matter what time or period of this business journey someone receives a package from me. Like it has to like remain.
Yes.
So, and I think, that's where the slow and steady, where I'm like, it's okay. We've got like the whole rest of our lives.
We know where we're going.
Yeah. Like I'm so sure of it.
And I think that that's the beauty in kids, because like, I know that there will be sort of trends for kids. It's not really the same as women's wear, where there's like hard trends. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not a fashion person.
I like that. It is soft trend.
Yeah. It's like, for kids, it's like, oh, this is cute and stuff, but stuff that like I wore when I was a kid, like I wish mum had kept, because it's like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not, I don't think that, like what I was saying about even that dress and stuff being like that princess dress and stuff, I can imagine, and there's no reason why in 40 years that wouldn't still be
100%.
so cute and beautiful, and like a 4-year-old would love it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that that's really cool, because it means that you can forward plan, you can just get an idea to your mind,
Yeah.
and then you're not worried that you're going to miss the trend.
Yeah. And I feel like I've built the brand as well based on, like, I want, when your daughter's wearing Lolly May, like, I want people to know you've got Lolly May on, you know, like, so whatever that kind of takes in the pencil to come out with, like, you know, you don't even need to have a conversation. It's like that mum knows.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous, because even December last year, we went for lunch at the Tropic, and there's a mum sitting at the table opposite us with her daughter in Lolly May, and the mum's like, you know, like, oh my gosh, hello. And it's like, it's beautiful. And like, everyone knows, like, you know, Lolly May has a very distinct aesthetic, and it is so unique. And I think that's what's so powerful. It's like, doesn't buck with the trends, you know, it is Renee, and, you know, it's very, it's very particular.
Yeah. I love it. I just thinking a little bit more as well as like, it's, it's really like beautiful and girly and like feminine and princessy without being, and it's like, I love like all the linen clothes and stuff for little girls and stuff, don't get me wrong, but it's like, it's nice to have something that's a little bit more less neutral. And
Like it's a bit more vibrant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Thank you, darling.
Okay, cool. So basically, have you found that your background in logistics has then helped you with this product cycling situation?
Yeah, I actually think just existing in this journey has been what's helped me with that, because I've just, like, you know, what's been leading the way is really like, you know, how each drop's gone and compiled, and then, you know, depending on how it goes is what you can kind of do, if that makes sense. So it's very much, the logistics thing is probably more like when I'm problem solving, which is a lot, like, you know, dealing with suppliers, you know, if I get sent something that's like absolutely rubbish, I need to know how to, you know, approach that, and I'm not afraid to either, you know, and that's where the logistics, when I had to solve it, you know, it's like, it's not necessarily easy conversation sometimes to sort and solve through, but it needs to happen. And I think that's in logistics, when I had a whole room of people going, we're not able to, you know, get that helicopter serviceable. I'm like, yeah, we absolutely are.
And I
this
think
is how we're going to do it.
And it's such like a misconception as well, because from the surface level, even probably for like the first 3 months of knowing you, wouldn't pick that up, okay? But she is like, there's a word that someone used to describe you, and it was like tenacious. Like, Renee can get it done. If it needs to be done, like, she's not afraid to get on the phone. If a customer sends a bit of a foul email and it's like not received very well, Renee will call the customer and just be like, hi, my love, you know, it's Renee from Lolly May. I just wanted to chat, you know? She is not afraid to do that when it serves her. And it's like a very powerful skill that you have. It's like she's with your previous job. It's like she's had exposure therapy to uncomfortable conversations and uncomfortable experiences and like challenges. And it's helped you so much.
It really has. Like, I'm so grateful. I think too, just to put it into perspective, like my previous job role, whether I was told to do this or not, but basically what it was if a machine was, let's say, unserviceable, it could have been, I don't know, like the exact figures, but let's just say $15,000 an hour. And my job was logistics. So every hour that machine wasn't able to be serviceable, it's like $15K down the drain. You know, like a bit of pressure there.
Totally.
Bit on. So naturally had to learn how to pivot, adapt, stay calm. You know, we always got it done. We got that serviceable, and, you know, so with that much money on the line and that experience, it's like, I loved that. Like that I got to learn how to just go, guys, like, we've got this. This is what we're going to do. And I still do it every single day, but triage, you know, like times can be overwhelming when there's lots on. So I'm like the queen of write it all down on a piece of paper and then let's number it. Yeah. And like, what is most important right now? Because I do find, like, often, like, as I say, yesterday we had a bit of a doozy when we launched our loyalty program, and the point balances were a little bit like incorrect, and we just had to, you know, slowly work through it, but we got through it. But it could be very easy in situations like that
to just panic and throw your hands up and and have, you know, unhappy customers and just go, oh well, like, that's it. Whereas it's never a solution. Yeah, it's never a problem that can't be solved.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I learned that. That's where the logistics,
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
thank you,
And
universe.
anyone in a small business will go through those challenges. And I think like to get out on the other side of that, you have to have a bit of that. Like
Yes.
whether you're learning it along the way or you already come with the skill, it's
Yeah.
something that like literally every single small business owner will go through. And
Yeah.
it's like if you aren't willing to learn those skills, be prepared to like constantly
Yes.
come across blocks you can't get past.
through.
Yeah, totally. It's like you have to be willing to pull up your sleeves and like get in the
Yeah,
mud a
get
little
dirty,
bit.
100%.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, because I've had this before with, we've changed platforms for our booking systems.
Yeah.
And there's always like a little bit, it's always like, because there's a lot of data in those systems, but then also they hold people's like credit card details.
Yeah.
It's like their automatic direct debits, like it's a lot of stuff. And I've done it twice, and both times it's been a bit of a fuck up.
Yeah.
And it's like then going, okay, I could just get overwhelmed,
Yeah.
be too stressed, play the victim,
Yeah.
all of that. Or I can kind of be like, okay, I'm going to stay up. I'm going to, this case, I had to delete every single person, and then I had to like reactivate them, put their membership, put their history in like automatically, you know, we're talking like 200 plus members
like,
and
that'll
over
take you hours.
4 studios. I think that what the clients appreciate it, and especially when it's like they're coming to you and they're like, oh, my direct debit was doubled this week. It's like, even if it's just an extra $40 or something,
Yeah.
it's when it comes to that, like people are less understanding when it comes
yeah.
to money. But if they know that you're like, don't worry, I will I'll
get
sort
to
it
the bottom of
out,
it, 100%.
and they know that you have integrity, then they're gonna stay loyal to you. They're not gonna like let that be an excuse to
Yeah. And and you've got to like set the tone, don't you? Like when things go a bit haywire, it's like, well, you know, if you're at the top, like, well, everyone's
Especially
gonna
when
feel
things
that.
are out of your control. Like yesterday, we could have done everything we possibly did and that would have still happened. It was one of those things that are completely out of your control.
Yeah.
So when it's out of your control, you can't really reflect on what you've done. You have to figure out what the missing link is.
Yes.
And then figure that out.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, like it's not for the weak.
Yeah, it's not like
through
trying
it.
to figure out who to blame or what happened.
No,
or
exactly.
Who to
Like,
get
you
cross
cannot.
with. It's like just sort the problem out.
Yeah.
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 And customers first. Like nourish. That's always where I'll be. It's like customers first. Let's set the tone. Like we will, and you know, you always get through it. But it's like, you know, I think the most important thing is prioritizing customers. Like honestly.
Yeah. And I feel like you have a great community. I saw the other day you did like a beach.
Yeah, that was for
That was
our
the shoot
loyalty
for loyalty.
campaign.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That was so special.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like that was an investment because it's
Yeah.
like, you know, it was just to do something. It was getting our real life community members for like our loyalty. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, we want
Yeah.
to bring everyone even more so together. And that's what like I have in,
It's the biggest priority, I
Yeah.
would say, from like a marketing standpoint, like our community and making sure that they're served first and foremost, making sure that they're involved. Like we've got so many things in the pipeline this year that's so exciting. We probably won't talk about it, but keep that a little bit secret. But you know, like everything we're doing, we're constantly thinking like, what are we doing for them? What's happening for them? How are we getting them involved? How are we getting their opinions? You know, like what's happening there? And as a result, we're just
like they are like that. Yeah,
It's
community is
incredible.
top
Yeah.
priority.
I was going to say like what, from a business perspective, like what is the importance of community and how have you seen the benefit of that with building the community? Let you take this one out.
Sure, no worries. Well, I would say like there's been, and I found this, I've also worked in a business where it has been founded by someone with a personal brand online. And so those communities overlap, right?
Yes.
And that's been like beautiful to see for Lolly May. But in saying that, like it's not, I think a lot of people just assume that if you are someone with a personal brand that then owns a business off the back of that, it's just naturally easy for you to have a community. They're already there. I don't think that's actually the case. It takes a lot of work. And I would say our community 12 months ago were not as engaged as they are now.
Yeah.
You know, like
It is constant
yes,
work.
it is constant work and nourishment. And we've focused really, really hard on that. And I think as a result, you know, like if you look at, you know, our broadcast channel, for example, there's 2.6 thousand people in there. And like for a small business to have that many people highly engaged, like you go in there and you look at the engagement and it's like, wow, businesses 5-10 times our size don't have half that engagement. That is like a metric, like even though, you know, that's not necessarily, you know, that's not so trackable to like an ROI, for example. But for us, that's the sentiment of like how we're making people feel about our brand. And that's so important. And we want to get to a point where, like we want it to be, oh, it's not just a beautiful dress. Oh, it's a Lolly May piece.
Yes.
Yeah,
I own something from Lolly May. And you're seeing people at the park and they're also in Lolly May and you're connecting over that, you know, and you feel it's bigger. Like brand for me and Renee as well, it's bigger than the product you're selling.
Yeah. And I think you said this word a few times during that sentence was feel.
Yeah.
And it's like something that like you kind of teared up before about. It's like,
well, it's even something you mentioned when you said when your girls are in.
It's like how you make someone feel is your community. And I do think community gets thrown around a little bit these days. But you can see through that, I guess, like, because it is a lot of hard work. It's not something that you can just do overnight. It's like constantly coming back to your values, constantly coming to like who you are as a business, and then focusing on how you make someone feel. And I always say that with the studios, it's like when people leave a class, it's not about like how sore their bum is from, it's like they walk out, I want them to walk out, and this is the same with the Pilates Academy, it's like I want them to walk out and they just feel really good, but they don't really know why. And it's a combination of things. It's because the instructor was like, didn't make them feel a certain way. It didn't feel naggy, that everything flowed, like it felt easy. And I want them to walk out feeling just really good.
Yeah.
And that's something that you like sort of spoke about, is like, how does like being part of this community make 100%. Our clients feel? Because from that, you will see an ROI. Exactly. But it's just not as...
Yeah, it's not as easily like definable, but in saying that, you know, like when times are tough, you go through things like COVID, you go through things like, you know, the economical landscape and how expensive everything is right now. Like communities can withstand that. And I think a lot of small businesses who probably aren't investing that much in it will see a lot more volatility in their business during like external things that you can't control, right? And I think when you have nurtured your community first and foremost, when you look after them, they look after you. So when times are tough in business, and you have a diehard community there that is still wanting to invest in you, it kind of removes that level of volatility away. And it's like I just think it's more powerful than people think. And I think you know, in marketing as well, it depends. Like you can go, there's kind of two types of marketing. There's your performance marketing, the thing, it's like, you know, the when you go to the slot machine and you put money in, you get money out, you know, that's performance marketing. Like it's a guaranteed ROI. And then there's the type of marketing that's focused on brand, community, you know, like that kind of thing that's less trackable. But sometimes, like, especially when I look at, you know, the past 12 months, that is a crucial part of like growing a sustainable like business that can withstand that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Completely agree. Love community. It's really special.
But I do agree. It does, like, the word just gets thrown out there, like almost like as a tick on the box. But it does require constant, like, you know, thinking outside the box, like, you know, constant thought, I would say.
Absolutely.
Constant thought, and I think also constant action, because you can say it and you can put it into your marketing. Community, the word community.
See, that's where I think it gets thrown around. Absolutely.
But then it's like, well, what are you actually doing? Like,
correct.
To create that,
Are you polling them? Are you seeing how they're going after their, you know, they've placed an order and they want to know, you know, are you asking them for photos of the little girls in their dresses because you want to see how cute they are? You know, are you asking them, hey, what do you want to see from us next? You know, like, are you giving them free value outside of just giving them new things to buy? You know, like it's all of that extra work that makes it actually like mean something.
Yes, totally agree. I would love to ask you guys, you could either answer this together or you could do it separately, because obviously you might have different answers to this. But 3 tips for someone who wants to start a product-based business.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So my 3 tips if you're starting a product-based business definitely is 1, good product. Like, you know,
very first thing, you cannot get a business off the ground if the product isn't viable. So absolutely.
Because I hear this thing and I get the concept where people say, you know, don't wait for it to be perfect, like maybe, you know, on a swing tag or something like that, but the product, good product. The second thing would...
Could I just speak to that quickly? I feel like that is actually so important, because if someone buys your product, like you've launched it, you put all this effort, all this money, everything into launching it, and the product is not good. People invest, they receive the product is not good. They're not going to give you another chance.
You don't have a return customer, especially at the beginning of your business. Like that is so important. When your customer base is small, you need them to be coming back. Otherwise, you're constantly, like from a marketing perspective, this is why it's so important. If you're taking care of like the product, for example, they know your product is good. They immediately have trust in your brand. They're coming back. That doesn't cost you a lot of money. To acquire a new customer every single time to buy a product once costs you so much more money. So from a business perspective, like this is like something that I think a lot of small businesses probably aren't learning. And it's that like, it'll cost you so much money to acquire a customer rather than to keep a new customer happy. And that's why at this point, even for Lolly May, loyalty and retention is so important, because it's actually more cost effective for us. You know?
And also because if you lose a client, like if you lose a customer because the quality wasn't good, it's not just them you lose, like they're not going to
anyone in the inner circle
buy that for their nieces and nephews. They're not going to, like, if someone mentions it, they're going to say, oh, I got it, it didn't last very well. And then the same goes for if they did love it and it was good quality, they'll be like, well, it's worth it. Like, 100%. It's worth it. Like, I want to buy that beautiful thing for my niece, or I'm going to recommend that for that person for their kid to wear to like a wedding or birthday or whatever.
I think the second thing would definitely be pricing your product correctly from the beginning, and also like not getting sidetracked with what someone else may be selling something for, you know, not getting down that trap of comparing what you may have created to what someone's selling similar, or, you know, and just like knowing your figures, like what you said earlier, like you really do need to, you know you need to know your figures. Like,
What can go wrong with pricing it incorrectly at the start?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is you can't actually, even if you've got a small profit margin on your product, you can't actually make enough money to reinvest to scale. So you could continue to make, say, you know, you launch a drop of 100 pieces and you've made actual 16 grand of profit. You only have 16 grand to reinvest. That's only going to get you that same 100 pieces. You know, like how can you scale when you're only selling 100 units of product every single time? It just doesn't work. So when you look at it from a scale perspective, your profit margins need to be good enough so that you can reinvest like in more, you know what I mean? Like you need to reinvest into more. And also as you grow, it's not just product you start to reinvest in, it's marketing, it's, you know, team, it's warehouse, it's so many other things. And that's why I think that's so important. And also the other thing with the pricing side of things is the one thing, like absolutely you can't really be too affected by what everyone else is selling their stuff for. Market research, though, is incredibly important. So you do need to know where you sit, but you need to know where you sit based on like how you envision your brand. So Lolly May is not competing on price with Target, and that's for a reason. You know, we don't have the quality of Target. We don't want to be seen as that kind of brand. It's not. It's an expensive upmarket luxury product, but for children. So therefore, the way we price our products is more expensive, obviously because it costs us more to make. But that's, you know, that is also something I think people don't spend enough time.
It's the way people
understanding.
Value it.
Correct. It's like that whole thing of, you know, like a bottle of water can cost 50 cents at the gas station. It can cost $2 at the cafe, and it can cost $10 in an airport. It's the same bottle of water. It's the same kind of concept. You just need to know like where you're sitting. Are you the gas station? Are you the cafe? Or are you the airport? Which one is it?
And really simply, I think like what you were sort of saying before is like, okay, we're looking at the figures, but we're not just going, okay, so each unit is costing me $20, and then if I sell it for $60, I've got $40 profit. It's like, no.
Yes, and I think that's why that is tip number 2 from me, because when I definitely started Lolly May, I didn't know about all these other bits yet. Like I didn't know about Meta because it was all just organic reach at the beginning. I didn't know about potential warehousing. I didn't know about, you know, sort of marketing that I would need to reinvest into. So I certainly didn't necessarily like price that into what I was creating. And that's why I think
even on the logistics side as well, a lot of brands, like I've experienced this in other businesses where they're not thinking like, oh, okay, so freight actually costs you money. You need to add that freight per unit onto your actual product cost. That's your landed cost. Like people can work out their profit margins,
stuff, but it's like
without you know, if it comes on a plane, it's about $10 more expensive than when it comes on a ship. But a plane takes 2 weeks and a ship takes 3 months. So you know, you need to be like quite on the ball with that.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. That's a great tip.
And then number 3 would be, I haven't actually thought about that one yet.
I feel like one tip that you've like that's really stuck with me today
Yeah.
is when you were just talking about like the mindset around business and like not
gorgeous.
That's your number 3.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like, number 3 definitely is mindset. Like you've just, And honestly, as simple as like you can do this, like everything. Like never let go of that.
Yeah.
Never let go of your own capabilities. Because if you can't believe in yourself, how will anyone else? And I feel like as I've learned and scaled Lolly May and had more people involved with it, it's like it really does stem from the top, you know. So if
100%.
you are building the business on believing in yourself, everyone else is going to believe in you too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
totally.
I think definitely mindset is actually like that probably is like number 1 for me.
Yeah.
But
I feel like there's so many like, mindset's such an umbrella, and then there's so many like things that come along with that. So, you know, like Renee, from the moment you started the business, it was very intentional. She knew what was missing. Maybe she didn't like fully, completely comprehend that at the time, but she knew what was missing and she knew her product was good. You know, like there's a lot of like internal like trust in that, and I feel like you need to have that as a small business owner. If you're not sure,
how are you?
how can you?
Feel sure?
Right.
Like I'm so
that's
that is true actually. Like I've just never changed that outlook on. I just want like.
And I think the other thing for you is like, you know, there have been launches in the last 12 months that we are probably disappointed by. On the outside, you would never know. On the inside, it could, for, you know, if without the right mindset, it could affect
there's
you.
no guarantee in this game. Like even still at whatever scale or pace anyone's at, there is no guarantee that when you have a product-based business, you're going to bring out this thing and it's going to bang ever, at no matter what. And I think that's like the biggest learning.
You got to be prepared for
You
that.
have to have the capacity to hold something if it doesn't work.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think
You got to be resilient.
Yeah,
Like
I
the-
really,
yeah,
I think that
absolutely.
that's a really good point. Like we're talking to me and my husband talking to this one of our friends, and he does trading,
Yeah.
and like Jordan was like talking to him about it. He was like a bit interested, and this guy said one of the things that people don't realize is that they have to be able to take the losses, like from like a psychological point of view. It's like he's like, that's one of the things that no one ever told me is you have to be able to like deal with those losses and not let them like
Yeah.
make you crash and burn. It's like you have to take the losses with the wins.
Yes, 100%. Because also, to anyone listening, if they've made something, you know, and they've come out with a product and it's not worked, what if the second one was going to be what it was? Like, you know, like you just have to be resilient. Also, at the beginning, I feel like you need to spread your risk across, you know, a few products depending on what they're making, you know, so that you can trial and error and get a bit of data back. I feel like data is, you know, quite helpful.
Yeah, totally. Mel,
Yes.
you've worked with a few different businesses. I would love to ask you some of the things that you've seen businesses, like where you've seen businesses go wrong. You've sort of touched on a little bit with these, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But it'd be really cool to see what you think about that.
I think it depends on where we're looking at it, like from a business perspective or just from a marketing perspective, but I might go from the business perspective first. The biggest thing that I find, like say, for example, if a business approaches me now and they're at a bottleneck or they're stuck or whatever, one of the first things I notice every single time is that they're actually not even remotely clear on what they're trying to do and achieve.
Yeah.
So they don't know what the vision looks like 5 years down the track. They're not very clear. And I think when you're not clear, you're constantly making decisions that are like rushed. It's not aligned with like what your community wants and needs. Like it's when you're unclear, like you cannot actually make a valid decision. So I think that is like a pretty big mistake. And like if you don't know how to do that, you like find someone who can help you unlock what that is and that vision so that you can keep going. Because that's like when you kind of start looking into like from a marketing perspective, that's like what market orientation is. So you actually know nothing about your customer and what they want and need. You've got to understand that. The second thing I would say is team. Like the people around you in business, they're the people that are essentially going to get you, not you. Like as the business owner, like you have to rely and have like an ecosystem of people around you who are going to get you to the next level. If you don't invest in them properly, if they're the wrong people that you keep around, if, you know, like if you're not treating them the way that you want them to, you know, be able to serve you and your vision and your dream. And if you're not doing that, like, you just can't get to the next level. You'll always be stuck. And I think that's something I've noticed. I think that's a challenge for a lot of business owners, because a lot of entrepreneurs are not necessarily people person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
you know, and that's so fine, but is a skill, especially at the start when you can't afford, you know, people to do that work for you.
Yes.
Having people skills and like, I don't know, just genuinely caring about, you know, the people that are in your corner and are doing the work for you. That's super important, because I think you cannot scale a business without the right people.
Yes.
And the right people, like, that is largely to do with you.
Absolutely.
As the owner, you know?
Yeah, and the people that you attract and
Correct.
draw in, and your ability to be able to
Manage relationships and do all of that, and you know, it's so hard.
Yeah, and even identify people's
Skills,
strengths and
yes.
skill sets, and like where they're going to fit in, if they're going to fill this gap that you have. That's a great
And
one.
also on a business front here, like also being really careful on who approaches you though as well, and thinks they can get your business from here to here.
yeah.
Because
Yes.
I do remember a gorgeous gentleman
Gorgeous
that gave
man.
me a phone call one day and said he would get the brand from here to here. And at the very end of the conversation, he was like, all right, well, if you could just
What are your credit
pop
card
your credit
details?
card details in. And I think, you know, there's a lot of over promising, you know,
From 100%.
flowing around. And so it's also like
Using
from
your
a
own
business owner
discernment.
perspective. Like
Yeah, I can
choosing
definitely-
wisely too.
Yeah.
And I would
definitely
say probably
agree.
the last biggest mistake that I've seen in smaller business, or like, and this is absolutely the opposite of Lolly May. Like, as I said, she wants to learn. Like, that is her biggest like asset as a founder. I have come across founders who kind of want people to just do it for them. And when you have that mentality of, I just want to pay someone to do it for me, you're never really understanding what's going on. You don't really understand like how it's helping your business. And I think when you don't have your finger on the pulse in those areas, like you don't really have control of anything in your business. So I would say, in terms of business owners, that's like one of the biggest things that I see. It almost, to me, like, I'm going to be a little bit rough here, but is an element of laziness. It's like you just want the business to make money with a click of your fingers, and you want to hire the right people to do it for you.
Yeah,
And it's like, I just don't think that, especially when you're at the beginning stages, like, you need to be able to know and understand why everything is doing what it's doing. Otherwise, you can just make the wrong decisions. You can invest in something that you think is worth your money, and it's actually not serving you at all.
Yeah, and I think in this day and age, we touched on community. I think community plays such a big part in the longevity and sustainability of a business. And I think that when, like, I'm just going to use the fitness industry, for example, like I've noticed when, like, say there's like sort of like an invisible owner who just starts like, say, a Pilates studio, and they're not involved at all. They're not nurturing their staff. They're just like, oh, we'll just find some staff, chuck them in. Like these sort of businesses seem to be making money. Like, sure, maybe they can do this like fancy fit out or whatever, but if they're not invested and like they're not connecting with their community, maybe they'll be successful for 6 months or something.
Yeah.
And then they'll be the first ones to
Go.
go.
People can again see through it. Like
Absolutely.
like, you know, people can feel it. It's that emotion
Yeah.
thing again as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Oh my gosh, so much gold nuggets here.
Oh, great.
Is there anything that we haven't spoken about today that you guys would love to touch on?
Do you want to give them any like
Yeah, can you give us?
like
come on,
a
give us
yeah
something.
yeah well, do you want to give them any kind of like little, not like sneak peeks, don't tell them what's happening, but like, what does the future look like in the next like
Yes.
12 months to a year? We got big plans.
Yeah.
Don't tell them, but tell them.
Tell us. What are you thinking?
Well,
Are you thinking this?
yeah. Or even just like new like areas of what we're currently doing, expansion into like new, like, say for example, we just did swim.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. We may or may not have something coming in a slightly bigger than children's size.
Got it.
We've been working, like, it's been on Renee's, I think, vision board for quite a while.
Quite a number of years, actually.
Yes. But I think that's something that to break into something brand new.
Has there potentially been samples of this done before?
Well, you put it on your stories the other day that people were buying samples.
Yeah.
Well, they were going down to your
From
racks.
way back.
Yeah, from way back. This
Yeah,
was literally over 12 months ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I would say the vision for Lolly May in the last 12 months has really come into something huge. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. I love it.
Yeah, so I think, and like,
love the
we're so,
breadcrumbs.
yeah, we just like feed off each other. Like, it's quite like positively toxic, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, so what should we do next? You know,
Yeah.
like it's very like high energy, and like Renee is the most high energy human you've ever met. So
Yeah.
when you're in that energy, it's like, oh my God, okay. So when, you know, without saying what we're trying to say, we have big visions that lie outside of just making cute girls' clothes.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. I love it. I just love that as well. Like, I think that it's really great that, Mel, you can obviously hold Renee in her big visions as well.
Yeah, I'm very
Yeah.
blessed.
I've recently like had someone in my world, and I was talking to her, and I was like, obviously said about this product that I'm going to launch, and I was like, do you think we could like get the designs done by like 10 days time so that I can get samples, so I can, like, I had this sort of timeline. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And then last week I was like, so I was thinking about like the next product after this, and I think that I want to like launch on this date. Like, obviously I've got these sort of timelines because I've got Bub coming and stuff, so I'm like, I want to be mindful and make sure I've got time off during that time. And she was just like, well, we did the other one in 2 weeks. Like,
Yeah, we
could
just do
and
it
it's
again.
like,
Yeah,
it's
I love that.
Not
Yes.
in a way that she's
Yeah.
like, oh, like,
Yeah, you need a yes person in your corner.
Yeah.
100%.
she
Believe it.
actually can deliver like
Love that.
a good quality
Yeah.
like design
Product.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to see that you can obviously,
Yeah.
you guys bounce off each other in that way.
When I reflect, like Mel saying this to me early on, and she probably forgets saying this to me, but like when I think I've been working with her for 1 month, she literally said to me on a call, she goes,
Oh God.
Renee, I think you're focusing like a bit too much into the future.
Well, it's because we had a meeting that day. I remember this. I don't remember saying those exact words, but I probably did. I am quite honest as well. Like,
Which
that's
is good
one
though.
thing.
Yeah,
But
that's what you need.
It's like when we look at it now, it
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense because I've never stopped that.
Which is incredible, and you need that. But when you have an hour meeting and you got to focus on the thing that we're doing next week, you know, it's like, bestie, bring it back. But, you know, like, that is, like, Renee has always been like a visionary. Like, it's well, her brain, like, probably, I don't think has stopped in like 4 years.
Yeah. I feel like that's actually a true entrepreneur. Recently, someone said to me, there's business owners and there's entrepreneurs, and like there is actually a differentiation between them. And she said to me, like, you're a true entrepreneur. Like, being stagnant is like not
The worst thing.
It's the worst thing for you. And yeah, I thought that was like really cool because I'd never thought of it like that.
Yeah, you thrive off a challenge. You need to do your own thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
go against the grain.
You
I
get
love
bored
that.
and
Yeah, love
sort of
that.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
you to a T.
Oh, that's so exciting to see
Yeah.
what you bring out next. I was like thinking maybe boys' clothes. Is there a space for boys' clothes? I don't know.
Would you like? You wouldn't even believe how often we get asked that.
Yeah,
even
I
my
was
own
thinking
personal
that.
friends who have kids that are boys, they're like, "Can she just do it already?" Like
I
they're like sad that they've had boys because they can't
know.
dress them in Lolly May.
It's actually so hard. I went to buy my nephew a Christmas present, and there's two. I've got two nieces and one nephew, and then I've got a daughter and I've got another daughter. So there's lots of girls. So it's like that's easy. Like, you know.
Lolly made up.
I went to get him something. Like, I was like, I want him to have a cute outfit. Like, his mum she's not really like into that sort of stuff as much. But I was like, I want him to have a cute outfit for Christmas, all this. And then I literally was like shopping around and I called my mum and I'm like, Mum, there's nothing like cute for boys.
I still like have this belief though
Yeah.
with boys where I'm like, it's not like it's just that they don't look like girls' clothes in my head. Like, I don't know. I'm like,
And we will like never shoot ourselves in the foot and say never say never. But
Yeah.
at the same time, like your creativity is the thing that's driven
Yes.
the brand in a certain direction. And like that's what it's known for now. And I think like creatively for boys, it doesn't come as naturally to you
It just doesn't
as it
'cause I
does
don't
with
have-
feminine.
I think also
silhouettes.
if I think about boys, like, and obviously I'm just talking broadly, like,
Yeah.
no one at me for anything, but like when I think about boys, I think like, and then I think about that magic that I see in my daughter with like the dresses and stuff. I don't really like when I go to daycare or if I'm around little boys, I don't see that same attraction.
Yeah,
To what
yeah,
they're
like you don't have
wearing.
the same feeling, like that feeling response to like what a
they
boy's
don't want to
wearing.
dress themselves. I mean, like they just want to wear Spider-Man, you know. It's like,
Yeah,
But I also just think like boys' clothes are gorgeous in their neutral ways, you know, like, and a lot of mums say, you know, they don't want dinosaurs or whatever it is, but it's like, well, it just looks gorgeous, just
Yeah.
like little button up, like, I don't know, whatever you
unclear.
awesome.
Maybe if she has a boy, she'll.
I did think Lou was a boy, and I started sampling, of course, immediately. I can't have that. And they were cute. Like,
Yeah.
what came out of my head?
Yeah, it was
Like,
cute.
absolutely.
So that's why we say it's never off the cards.
It's never said.
Yeah, it may be something. It's just like, you know, one step at a time,
Yeah.
isn't it?
And I think
it.
even just like, you know, because the vision is like so much bigger than it was, and
Yeah.
we have like a really clear understanding of where the brand's going. Just, yeah, like so many things in store for our community this year. Like there's just things that we've never really considered that we're considering, which is exciting. If anyone's listening to this and is a fan of Lolly May, if you can tell us your favorite like mama influencer, just let us know. We just want to know. We just want to do a bit of a poll. and
Could
just
it be a
see what you're
micro
thinking.
influencer?
Could be anyone.
Could it be like an Abby Whittaker? I
Could
don't know.
be anyone you love. Tell us, please. But yeah, like we just got lots in the works.
Yeah.
And as always, like gorgeous new product. Oh my
Yeah.
God, you're gonna die.
I love it. I
Yeah.
can't wait to see. Awesome. All right. Is there anything else that we've forgotten?
You, Dal? Anything else you want to share?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for coming on. It's such a beautiful dynamic between the both of you, and both of you have so much great insight to share. I love it, and you bounce so well off each other. So, yeah, thank you so much, and
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
And thanks for letting me join in on the chat. I'm so grateful.
awesome.